disabilities teach us something about the progression of things. We typically think there's one progression from here to there. And we think of that you first got to learn to toddle, and then a tricycle, and then a bicycle, and then a 57 Chevy, and so on. But in fact, those progressions aren't always true for everyone. In fact, Matthew is never going to ride a tricycle or a bicycle or any of those things. Those are things he can't do. But he knows that with this powerful technology inside of this, he can actually drive a tank quite well. So he did the research on and showed the school how to get them and so on. But the school didn't do that. There were you can imagine, they cost $60 million each. You could only use it once per building and so on. So the other way to view the problem is to view it as the school's disability. And then you look for a different set of solutions. The first solutions are typically, how do we fix up the existing school? How do we retrofit it? It's broken and disabled now, how do we make it better? And we put ramps on the sides of buildings and so on. And it's very expensive, it's ugly like this is, and often, in fact, this ramp didn't work for Matthew because the corners were too sharp and so on. So there's lots of problems in trying to fix up things later after they've been built. So most of you know the better solution is to move toward universal designs. Build the building right at the beginning so that everybody can use it. I'm showing here an image of the Louvre in Paris, which has a wonderful stair and elevator combo. It looks like it's missing in the second picture here on the right, but it's really that tube goes up and down, so you can roll a wheelchair right on the top of it and so on. And it's really kind of cool. So people have choices. There are alternatives built into the universal design. It's cheaper, better, faster, more beautiful, all of the usual reasons. Who benefits from universal designs? I'm showing here a curb cut. And curb cuts, of course, originally were designed for people who were mobile in wheelchairs and so on. But as you know, that particular piece of design benefits many people, and I'm going to go fast here. People in scooters, people in baby carriages, people who are hauling their suitcase from the airport and so on, in addition to people who have motoric disabilities. So building, now we like it that there are these curb cuts everywhere, and the same is true for captions on television. It used to be that it was something that individuals with disability had to buy a decoder box to, in fact, get access to their television. Now there's a universal design law that says that all televisions sold in the United States need to have a decoder chip in them. And as you know, they come with every TV you buy now. Many of you don't use your captions. I now do actually use my caption because my hearing is starting to fail. But I also have trouble following dialogue on Grey's Anatomy and stuff because they talk so fast. So those of you that haven't learned to turn on the captions for Grey's Anatomy or any of those shows where they talk fast, turn on the captions. It helps a lot. But anyway, so there are many people who benefit from captions. They're built in. They're available when we need them. And you probably know this story, but in fact, users who are deaf are far down the list of people who use captions. People in bars and airports and exercise facilities, all of these things I'm showing here, are who actually really mostly uses captions, and people like me. And individuals who are deaf happen to also benefit. So universal designs are about building things into the environment that make them better for all of us, including people with disabilities, but not only with people with disabilities. I think I'll skip this slide mostly. What's better about universal design? We like it because it recognizes the reality of diversity. Universal designs are saying we need to put alternatives in. It's not that there's one way to be mobile in a building. It's not one way to read signs and so on. Building it from the start means it's less costly, it's more efficient, it's more aesthetic, benefits more people. At CAST, we work on universal design for learning. It's not about the building. It's not about the playground. Hopefully all those are universally designed. But it's about how is Matthew going to actually learn. And I want to tell you a new end to this story. Matthew's now in one of our community colleges here in this state. And it turned out Matthew not only had a physical disability, but he turned out to have a learning disability. When he hit 4th grade, he was not a good reader. And as you, I think, know, lots of you know these kinds of stories. that people think that having one disability makes you immune to all the others. And so it took a long time to discover that Matthew had a regular dyslexia, learning disability. It wasn't any big deal, but it took a long time to discover it because everybody had low expectations because of his physical disability. And you've all heard that story many times. So when Matthew got ready to go to school, this was the learning technology in his classroom. And it didn't work for him in several ways. First, he couldn't hold it and he couldn't turn the pages. So he really couldn't use it at all. And in those early days, we used to try to do things like page-turning devices. They're awkward, expensive, don't work well, and so on. And the book doesn't also work, though, for lots of other students, including Matthew, because he can't read very well. Doesn't work also for students who are blind, students who are English language learners, a long list of people for whom this learning technology is not an ideal learning technology. So our work with Matthew and then other students began us to reverse again the field. How do we look at this problem of learning technologies? And we first began to see it as Matthew's problem. Matthew needed fixing, needed remedial this or whatever it was, or fixing up him so he could turn pages. We began, though, to see the problem the other way, that this learning technology had its own disabilities. It was not effective for a wide range of students. It was made for a narrow range of students for whom it was pretty good. And we began to see our work as taking the, how do we design better learning technologies? Out of that work, and I don't mean to brag about this, but just want to highlight something for later. Out of the work with Matthew, right here in Massachusetts schools, we made electronic books so that Matthew could, in fact, move through them using his chin switch. And, in fact, that the books taught themselves aloud so that even though he wasn't a great decoder, he could learn to decode while he was reading, and so on. But the main thing was it came out as a commercially extremely successful product from Scholastic. Not sold as a special needs product, sold as a regular mainstream product. In fact, I can tell you, because you're the right kind of audience, that Scholastic didn't even say it was a good special needs product for 2 years because they were afraid it would marginalize the market. And it was a very popular program. They ultimately sold about $40 million. But in fact, I can say I was in New York yesterday, and for those of you that have used Wigglers in the past, it's now sort of out of date. It's a 14-year-old program. But they are completely redoing it because it still sells $1 million a year, and they realize, oh my God, this is still a great product, so they're going to make the whole thing over again for modern technology, which is really cool, and it will be universally designed again. So Matthew can easily use this. You get all of the regular books, but you get them in a digital version so that kids like Matthew and kids with all sorts of disabilities can use the same book, read the same materials, but get the supports they need while they're doing it. The key thing about it is it's a universal design. It's not a special needs product. It's a product for the core of the classroom, but one that everybody can use. Okay? That's what we mean. And the range of students that we mean to address is very broad. Matthew's here in the middle, but students with a wide range of disabilities.